everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex, and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Friday, so it is Todd McFarlane Day. We are looking at the next issue in his Spider-Man run from the early 90s. That is issue 12, cover dated July 1991. This is Perceptions, part 5 of 5. The story guest starring, as the cover says, Wolverine. And as the blurb tells you, the killer is revealed in this issue. So we're going to find out finally the mystery of who's been killing all these... killing, murdering, and burying all these kids up in British Columbia. So we've got Wolverine on the cover. Once again, I've talked about McFarlane's kind of lacking any kind of consistency when it comes to drawing Wolverine. His face kind of changes. One thing he's established is this kind of hook nose that he's been doing, which is great. And can work if he only was on model with his own design of Wolverine, but things keep changing. This gets more angular, sometimes rounder. As you can see here on the cover now, all his teeth are sharp, which I don't particularly like. I don't mind when they do the canine teeth a little sharper. That makes sense, like a real Wolverine, but not all of them. It looks like he's filed his teeth down, so I don't think that's a good look for Wolverine. You know, he's looking more and more like a vampire, basically, I guess. That's how I describe it. And the overall cover here, not bad. Just not one of McFarlane's best, I guess. Just kind of a boilerplate, kind of run-of-the-mill Tom McFarlane cover. That's still fun and great and got some foreshortening, some weird Spider-Man positioning. And, I mean, there is a good sense of body language with Wolverine where he's kind of hunched over and that type of character. Makes sense to have that kind of positioning. So there you go. That's the cover. Let's have a look inside and see what's going on. I'll talk more about the Wolverine look and the consistency within. And do you want to mention, it says so at the end of the issue, but 2 pages are inked by Scott Williams. I think I'm pretty sure I know which 2 pages, so I will mention it as we go along. I definitely think this is one of the pages. This one, to me, when I first opened it up, I was like, that almost doesn't look like Tom McFarlane. So the lines are a lot sharper and more angular, not quite as much noodling here, and I do see a certain resemblance to of something Jim Lee might do, not in the actual look of the drawing, but in the aesthetic and the line work and stuff. So I definitely think this is one of the Scott Williams inked pages. A rare few pieces out there, I think, that you can find of Tom McFarlane being inked by Scott Williams, right? A few pages in this comic, a pin-up or 2 maybe, and that's about it. So it's an interesting kind of mix. Just kind of odd here. If you pointed it out to me out of context, and I'd never seen this before, I don't know if I would think it was McFarlane or Scott Williams or anything like that. I don't know who this would be. It makes for an interesting mix for sure. It's fun to see. Kind of odd to have him ink that first page, but I guess that's how it broke down. It's a little jarring, but then you move in and turn the page, and right away you've got, you know, what I would definitely define as 100% Tom McFarlane ink work here. Wolverine again, looking just very kind of feral and a little bit too off model. The nose is a little too hooky, if you ask me, and he's like almost, like I said, looking more like a vampire. McFarlane's trying that fadey shadow that's colored in instead of darkened in again. The chin disappears and just kind of weird, right? It's a McFarlaneism, you know. He does it with Wendigo as well. That might be a deadline issue as well, right? It's a lot faster to just kind of hatch through it like that and do some dramatic effects than to actually draw the anatomy and the legs and stuff, you know. McFarlane was still putting in a lot of work for a monthly comic. You know, he's not cheaping on the art generally, so little tricks like that sometimes can help him out. This idea that he could just have the chin disappear into shadow, though, but like, it's just odd. Odd for Todd. Heh. So there you go. The rendition of Wolverine, like I said, not consistent when the mask is off here. I find like the hair is quite a lot, you know. It's just, I can't imagine anyone walking around with hair like that. It definitely makes him look more feral, I guess, than the average Wolverine. Like, I know the 90s tendency was to make the hair bigger and stuff and the sideburns, but this is pushing it a lot. I mean, anyone would be just afraid of this guy, I guess, just generally walking around, even not dressed like this. The hairline as well is very low. I don't know, like, yeah, just very off model, I guess. But still fun and interesting. The Wendigo again, you got that open colored shadow thing that he's doing. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like one of those things McFarlane does that sometimes kind of works or doesn't work, but like I kind of like it anyways. I don't know. Should that be just all darkened in? Maybe. Yeah, it's like he's not even inking certain details on Wendigo's face there. Like, he's really probably blasting through these pages, I guess. This is a cool shot I like. I think the exaggeratedness of the stretch of the costume and him putting the mask on stuff, I think it looks really cool. We've seen with Deadpool Wolverine how excited people are when Wolverine puts his mask on, so maybe this is just an earlier example of that. So here we get a few shots. I think this is pretty, you know, even though you get a lot of shadow on his face, pretty on model here. Oh, I copied this drawing so many times as a kid, just for big characters and stuff. I would just reference that so much. Yeah. Yeah, so pretty on model here and here, I think. Here's not bad, but he's going for the dark kind of, you know, shaded in face and the killer look. I get it. A little bit different. That's fine. More shaded. Always thought this sequence was pretty funny where you do see a little bit of Peter Parker's face through the mask here. So all of a sudden the nose does protrude first. You know, he's bending the face there, but it's fun. It's okay. And I'm going to venture to say, I think, yeah, this would probably be, in my opinion, the second page that was inked by Scott Williams. I feel like there's a more angular kind of quality to the line overall. Not quite. He's still kind of trying to recreate a little bit of that Todd McFarlane noodliness and extra lines and stuff, but not quite as many lines as McFarlane actually throws in there usually. And there's just a more slightly angular kind of look to it overall that, you know, unless I'm wrong, if you have theories on that, let me know in the comments. If you don't think the two pages I pointed out are the Scott Williams ones, let me know, you know, which ones you think are and what your arguments are, and I'll have a look for sure. So Wolverine goes into a bar and he's basically caught the scent of the killer, so he figures out who it is here, right? So it's a pretty convenient plot device, but hey, what are you gonna do? Right, the journalist here, still feel like McFarlane inked this page. Scott Williams would be angry to be handed a page like that, and that's what he's got to ink, I think, if he's helping out. I like the way this is, you know, one of those classic kind of cartoony McFarlane faces he's got here on Puck, the small diminutive character, right? And you got Sasquatch here, who obviously is also pulling from the same kind of Canadian lore as the Wendigo, right? Like the Bigfoot legend. So he does tend to draw them, you know, the Bigfoot is known to probably, you know, if to come from apes, I guess, if I can put it that way. So they're almost more human looking than ape looking. There's not much ape in his version of the Bigfoots, but they're still interesting. They're fun. Yeah, so here I feel like we've finally kind of got an on-model Wolverine. Still got the hook nose that he's thrown in, which is, as I said, I think is an interesting kind of little bit of difference artistically that works for me. Here it's like a little too big, but here it's very subtle, discreet. I feel like these two are the most like John Byrne-esque, if I can say that, designs or drawings or illustrations that he's done of Wolverine throughout this whole 5-part series. One thing I will say, I think it's the first time I've noticed Wolverine's belt. So Superman, you know, you see the little bit of thing that's meant to hold up his underwear, basically, and that's why Superman has a belt. Wolverine just has a belt. You know what I mean? It's if you really think about it, it's just so he doesn't strain his back or something. It's not holding up his underwear, right? Because there's no little, you know, kind of section that you'd run your belt through to hold these up. Very odd. I don't know if that's just Todd McFarlane or is that how Wolverine's always been depicted. So he's basically just wearing a belt for nothing. And this is the denouement, right? Which is a French word for like the unraveling of, you know, the end of the story, basically. And what's going on? Could this be Scott Williams? Maybe. I could have been wrong earlier. This might be Scott Williams. Oh no. Started a debate and an argument with myself. Yeah, this might be Scott Williams actually. And I might have been wrong on that last page. So I definitely think this one and the first. I've eliminated the other one in between. Yeah, this position of Wolverine here with his butt sticking out, just ever so, you know, often McFarlane will just do a weird kind of pose where the butt's sticking out, or yeah, just an odd choice. Not all the time, just every once in a while. Got some cool Spider-Man action. A lot of Spider-Man's off camera. You kind of get him just in a cool spidery pose, which is a McFarlane staple. And, you know, what he's off camera, but what's the result of his actions are on camera. I think all this is pretty cool. You know, making Spider-Man a little bit creepier and scarier than usual, right? As McFarlane is kind of trying to establish some sort of horror vibe, I think, with this series. And like, I definitely think that's what he was trying to do here. And then he pushed it even further, excuse me, when he was on Spawn, right? Or when he created Spawn for Image, and he can go even crazier than before. Once we get to reviewing Spawn, you'll see what I mean. I liked this whole pinup shot here, the police showing up, and Wolverine, basically what he's got here is he's captured one of these guys working with the police, and he's saying that he thinks he's the guy who killed the kids, right? And then it certainly looks like he's cut him open with his claws here, right? And again, there's another example where McFarlane is exaggerating, going a bit off model with, you know, the size of the Wolverine mask and the angle and stuff for effect, obviously, right? Like, when it gets too nuts like this, I'm not quite sure how effective it is. I mean, I get it, yeah, but it sort of takes you out of it a little bit. It does for me. This is a very cool Spider-Man shot. Coloring mistake where this reflection here that's red should have been blue. Just being nitpicky. Really cool shot of Spider-Man. I copied this lots of times. Lots and lots of times. There's a lot of stuff in this issue that I copied in my early days of you know, trying to become a comic book illustrator, right? After having discovered all these cool, exciting artists I was into. Tom McFarlane being one of them. And so basically what Wolverine reveals here is that, yeah, so, you know, I said it was this guy, but it was actually you, police officer. That's kind of the conceit of the whole thing, is that, you know, he admits it finally here. And he kind of, like I said, the unraveling of what happened in the story. So I'll just read that. Okay, I admit it was me. The boys, they were having problems. We're going to run away. Didn't mean to hurt them, but what if they told? So I planted the rice boy. Had the dogs chew him before I buried him. Forgot to take off his clothes. Didn't think anyone would notice the first boy didn't have any. Then I stalled the autopsy, sent it to Vancouver. Figured if we got the Bigfoot, then I'd be safe, but the reporters, they wouldn't. So he was trying to blame it on the Bigfoot, right, on Wendigo. You know, working from the inside of the police department, he was able to kind of divert attention and try to stall for time, right, is what he said here. And he starts running away, and Wolverine apparently had a tape recorder here, so he gives it to this gentleman, who we find out really wasn't clawed out by Wolverine, but was in on the whole thing to get the other guy to confess, right? And of course, irony of irony, running through the woods at night, this police officer guilty of at least child murder. It's never really specified, you know, to what level or what happened before that. You can make up your own mind about that. I'm sure it's implied somehow throughout the story. McFarlane really seems to have something against, you know, child killers and child sexual abusers and things like that, which, I mean, don't we all? All right. I think that's pretty natural, but he used that theme in a lot of his stories here at Marvel first, and then through some Spawn issues. But anyways, yeah, so the irony is that he's running through the woods, and one of the hunters looking for the Bigfoot and the supposed child killer, or who they think is the child killer, actually ends up shooting him. Always thought this shot of Wolverine here very cool and moody, and him lighting up a cigarette, I think, is a kind of just a cool idea for a shot. Good body language, you know, good non-action comic booky superhero shot of the character. I've always said it, Wolverine should always be smoking. Even today, he's the one character for who it makes sense. And the other two well-known smokers, Nick Fury and The Thing, both have bodies that can help them withstand any kind of ill effects from the smoking, so it makes sense that they would smoke. I get this whole idea the comics are for kids, but you know, no one's actually encouraging you to smoke just by smoking. I don't think that's how it works. Not in my mind, anyways. I could be wrong. Always like this shot here of Wendigo kind of skulking back into the forest. Very simple and effective, very cool. And that's it. Peter Parker's back on a flight to New York, and next issue is going to be Spidey back in black, AC/DC. No, I don't think AC/DC is going to be in the comic. The soundtrack or anything like that will appear. But next week we'll be reviewing Spider-Man issue 13. But this was my review of Spider-Man issue 12. If you have any comments, concerns, answers to some of my questions, or interesting tidbits, let me know in the comments below. I've tried to reply to people up to this point. Been doing pretty well on that. So, you know, you might just get a reply from me if you write in. If you're already subscribed and you're watching the video still, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed but you are watching the videos, please do so below. It takes only about a second for you. Really helps us at the channel and helps get us out there to other like-minded people who are into the same kind of stuff we are, namely comic books. So everyone who's been watching the reviews, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Everyone out there, have an awesome day.
Like, subscribe, like, subscribe.
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.